Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I am very happy. As we all know, the CAT results are out and I have scored 98 percentile. Before I start, I want to make one thing very clear. This video is not a motivational video, and this video is not to show off, and it's also not like one of those videos where I'll be saying that believe in yourself, you can do it, miracles do happen. I'm not going to do any of that. This video is just going to be a real story. No exaggeration, no motivational drama, nothing of that sort. So let's get started. So this was my second CAT attempt. In my first attempt, one section completely pulled down my score, and that section was LRDI. But that failure taught me one brutal truth, that CAT doesn't forgive imbalance. You have to be consistently well in all the sections. You have to clear those sectional cutoffs. Since I'm a non-engineer, my major focus was on the quant section. Naturally, that's what majority of the non-engineers do. But in the process of focusing on quants, I completely neglected LRDI and it costed me heavily. So when I joined my MBA college, I had two choices. Number one was to forget about CAT and just to focus on MBA. And number two was to give CAT one more serious attempt and manage both the things. So I chose the second option. To be very honest, the confidence was missing in the start. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to manage both the things. I didn't know if it would be worth it to give it another shot. Completely honest, and let me make this very clear. Preparing for CAT along with an MBA is not easy. For me, it was mentally exhausting. There were days when I felt tired before even starting. I feel preparing for CAT with an MBA, it tests your patience more than your intelligence. Most of the days I was just trying to stay consistent. So those of you who do not know what MBA is all about, let me tell you. MBA means regular classes, back-to-back quizzes, assignments that never really stop, midterm, group work, end terms and whatnot. There were days when I would simply come back to my room and think कि अब कुछ बचा नहीं है, मतलब मेरे अंदर कुछ बचा नहीं है to give it to CAT. I was so mentally exhausted. And then there were days that made me feel guilty about preparing for CAT and not focusing on MBA as much. So when you're managing both the things, you are constantly switching roles. Student here and aspirant there. The most important thing I realized is that you need not study for 8 to 10 hours every day. But you most definitely need to have this one thing, and it is non-negotiable. You need to have clarity. You need to be clear about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So you need to have clarity about three things. Number one is what you're weak at. Number two is what you should consciously ignore. Yes, there are many topics which carry very little to no weightage, so you need not do those topics. And number three is you need to understand what can actually move your score up. You need to be aware of your strengths. You need to have that clarity that yes, I am absolutely good in this thing. For example, in quants, I covered a very small portion of the syllabus. I only did arithmetic perfectly. And then I did few topics from algebra. Then that's it. That's all that I did. I left all the other topics because it would have been nonsensical to do all the topics. I mean, there are people who are not confident in quant, so they like to do all the topics, which is well and good. But for me, this strategy worked. I only did arithmetic to the best of my ability. One more thing I've noticed is that many of the CAT aspirants, they fire aimlessly. They randomly, they just pick up any random question, they watch random videos and they try to solve random sets. This time I did not have the luxury to do that because I was already doing an MBA, so the time was very limited. And honestly speaking, there were days when I only studied for 40 minutes. But in those 40 minutes, I knew what I was studying. I knew the output that I was going to get during that time which I was devoting to the CAT preparation. And if I talk about my strength, then for me, VARC was my strength. For someone, it could be cons, and for someone, it could be LRDI. That's perfectly fine, but you need to know where you stand and what you're good at. So, the moral of the story is you need to have that clarity, you need to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the kind of output you are going to get from your efforts. You need to have that clarity. Was that one section that actually scared me after my first attempt. So this time I decided to stay consistent with this section. And by that I mean doing something every single day. हम सबका एक ना एक सेक्शन होता है जिसमें हम बहुत वीक होते हैं. आई एम श्योर बहुत लोगों का एक ना एक सेक्शन डेफिनेटली होता है. But to be able to work on it, you have to stay consistent. Alright, now it might sound like an obvious thing, but I understand the power of it now. Because honestly speaking, there were days when I only solved one set. I didn't get the time to solve more than a set. But that one set I would do with utmost perfection and I would do it. And later on, if I'll also watch the solution of that set. And that helped me immensely. One thing I understood after scoring well in LRDI is that everything is teachable. That's what I believe in personally. So provided you give it that much of time and dedication, you can improve your weakest section. It's doable. On many days I would just simply watch a video on YouTube of some important sets and I would just watch that person solve that set. I wouldn't do anything. I would just watch that person solve the set. I would understand how that person is approaching the set. I would try to understand the way of thinking of that person. This part of the video is very important. It's for the freshers and even for those people who have gap years. If you can avoid taking a gap year, then definitely do not take a gap year just for CAT. Prepare alongside something. It could be a job, it could be college, or even an internship as a matter of fact. Just do something. Taking a year gap for this exam is not worth it. I don't deny, I mean, it is difficult, it is mentally draining, but it is most certainly doable. Most of my friends who were there with me in the first attempt, we all prepared together. So this time, what they did was they took a gap year. And you know what they told me? They told me that, Karan, you did the best thing that you did not take a gap year. Because gap year, it adds on pressure. What happens is that every mock feels heavier. Every bad day feels like a waste of time. So it adds on a lot of pressure. It also leads to overthinking कि अब मेरा क्या होगा अगर अभी भी नहीं हुआ तो इसके बाद क्या होगा. So it's always good to have something on the side. So when you're preparing alongside something, not just an MBA, like you're doing a job or maybe an internship, what happens is that your pressure gets spread out. Mind stays grounded. I mean, you don't indulge into overthinking. CAT is important, I'm not going to deny it, but your life shouldn't pause for it. So that balance has to be there. So this time, honestly, I was not chasing perfection. My focus was into just staying consistent. Was I scoring well in my mocks? Absolutely not. I was scoring so badly in my mocks. But this time while preparing for this exam, I realized one thing, that mental stability matters a lot more than the efforts you're putting in. How I should not be overreacting to one bad day. Jab jago tab savera. So next day you can always start fresh. And it happens, like we all have certain days when we feel very low or we don't feel like doing things, and that's absolutely fine. And I also learned to accept bad mock scores instead of getting into that spiral of self doubt. हो पाएगा नहीं हो पाएगा इतना कम कैसे स्कोर किया am I good enough, am I worthy enough, will I be able to do it. So I never had those self doubts. I wouldn't say I never had those self doubts, they were there initially, but then I snapped out of it because my mindset was very clear that I have to stay consistent, and if I keep on doubting myself, then I won't be able to stay consistent. just want to say, if you need any help with the CAT notes or section wise strategy or anything related to this exam, or if you just want to have an honest conversation, just reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. So, I just want to say that I have been confused. I've had bad days and I have failed before. This was my second attempt. Now, finally, I have made it through. And if anything from this video helps you even a little, that's more than enough for me. Who couldn't do well this time, I genuinely want to say one thing. CAT is an important exam, but it's not bigger than your self worth. Honestly speaking, the real win for me is not the number, but it's the clarity and the balance and the kind of person I've become, from this entire process. If you're preparing, then I can't emphasize enough on this that do not run blindly. Don't just do anything and everything. Take a pause, have that clarity, and then move forward with an intent. That's very important. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video, and I'll be posting more content related to CAT. So if you like this video, then make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.